Hi, everyone. To say that I am a little emotional already. This is wonderful. To say that I am delighted and feel very, very blessed to be here with Shakti Caterina Maggi. Practice pronouncing your name is an understatement. And I am actually, Shakti, the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to set my intention to be able to continually use my mind as the admin during our interaction, because the first time you and I did a Facebook Live, I got so still just in your presence, so empty that I forgot where I was. And for a few moments anyway, I forgot how to speak. So the power of your presence in my life and in the lives of thousands of others all around the world can best be better experienced, direct experience than discussed. But Shakti, she's a spiritual guide who teaches non-duality as a passionate self-inquiry to embody in our everyday a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world as one consciousness. Shakti is returning. We are so very grateful that she will be returning as a presenter during the upcoming Many Paths One Self Conference, which begins April 21st, which, if you're watching us live, is 8 days from now, I think, a week from tomorrow, Friday the 21st. And Shakti agreed to just spend a little time with us now to introduce herself and to talk about the importance, of this one thread and how truth is universal. And well, let's just stop there and see where it goes. There's so many other things I could say. Shakti, welcome, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for everybody listening. Well, I think we should start from the fact that what is searching for truth in us is not a person. What is looking for truth in us is truth itself. And if we intuit this, then something fundamental shifts in us. It's no more, a little person looking for a connection with the divine or with the universe or with life, or, understanding its own, individual mission and all that. But it's like really this ultimate reality that is having a human experience right now, is having an individual experience through these forms, and is looking for itself, to recognize itself. And once has done that, is able to express itself in all its beautiful different colors. Like every form is different, individually unique, and precious for this. But the self behind all these beautiful forms is the same one. And of course, there are many, many paths, many, many different ways to realize this ultimate reality, that is that we are one consciousness, we are love, we are this precious intelligence that is manifesting as everything, and that is expressing itself, this oneness, in all possible ways. So this inner call, this, I would say, urgency in us to find ourselves, can be recognized or not. Maybe, at the beginning of our life, it's expressed more as more like trivial things or materialistic things. But then we start to see that this urgency, this thirst, this hunger for truth, it's really a fire burning, right? Wants something more fundamental. And that's when we recognize to be a spiritual seeker, I think. And sometimes we were speaking a moment, me and Cindy, before this live, and we were saying, sometimes, one might think my path is better than the other, or is the only one, and maybe we all fell in that error, along the path at a certain point. But truly, it's not a person that is looking for this divine consciousness, is divine consciousness that is looking for itself, and it creates all possible ways to see itself. And to the degree that consciousness itself is aware in you, will manifest different teachers and levels and opportunities. And sometimes this change, you might find yourself in a way, and then you might find yourself moving into other directions, maybe to recognize at the end of it that there was a common line between them, and a kind of golden thread that shines through everything. And even when you think you change direction, it was actually the same essence that you were looking for. So it's, to me, is brilliant and fascinating to see, the common ground of beautiful teachings of Advaita from, ancient India, with the non-dual, to me, that is non-dual awareness in Christianity, the Christ consciousness, the connection with that, or the beautiful work in Sufi, in Islam, like marvelous. It comes into my mind now, what has been recognized as a saint by the Sufi and the Kashmir Shaivas, like Lala Ded, a fantastic mystic, a woman, a poetess that was going around naked, singing verses for God after her alignment, which is marvelous. So there is like so many different, like Buddhism, of course, is obviously there, and so on. So sometimes certain seekers find themselves in a tradition, in a codified tradition, let's say, in a codified path. And for some of them, that's really good. That's what they, it's what the consciousness in them, it's really needing. Others, don't find themselves inside a more codified tradition. This is what seems to happen in nowadays spirituality. And they explore something more individual, But ultimately, what we're going to find on the top of the mountain, where all these paths rejoin, is one truth that is absolutely universal and is a call for dissolving the suffering in us. And once that is happening, dissolving it in all the world around us, become vehicle of transformation, of peace, of deep understanding, in which all is encompassed and recognized as oneself. So, of course, this is an extreme synthesis. I have a great respect for many traditions, and I'm always fascinated to find, connections with my own story, and that didn't happen through a specific tradition. I mean, I was raised as Christian, and I recognize, in the Christianity, in the essence of Christianity, that love of Christianity is something incredibly precious that blossomed and in awakening. But then, I discovered that what I was experiencing was also perfectly described in Advaita and in the Issa tradition in India and in the Nondual Tantra tradition. So I don't feel I belong to a tradition. I feel, like I belong to the heart. And but absolutely, I bow to the wisdom and and the protection that the tradition can offer to a seeker. When you are on your path, the wisdom of the ones that came before you is protecting you. So that is very precious as well. Hello, Kat.
That's Maeve. She's attracted by your energy.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking briefly, great conversation. Should have had it all recorded. There will be 25 presenters next weekend. I think that's the number, from all different traditions. Some walk their path without a teacher, without a specific Many of us, though, are called to work with a teacher, and I would love if you would comment in two ways here. One, if one feels an inner calling for a teacher, and they're coming to this conference, for instance, and they come to sit in these different talks, how do they, what questions should they ask themselves? What should they look for relative to choosing a teacher to work with? A and B, and then once you're drawn to a teacher, I know that you have some thoughts and some guidance on how to approach and be with that one.
Well, there is a Sanskrit word that is highly misinterpreted and became almost like a dirty word nowadays. That is the word guru. Yeah, guru is Sanskrit and means the one that is removing the obstacle for the light to shine through. And the guru, in my opinion, in my experience, is not a person. And a real guru would never say that he's a person, actually. The guru is a function of consciousness. So a teacher, that would be more like modern way to, to speak about this. So there is a great wisdom in the definition of the one that is removing obstacle, because the guru will take off the ignorance, will show you and will help you to take off the obstacle that doesn't let you see the already present truth. So there is a beauty in that definition, in my opinion. But as said, has become something else, has become charged with many different meanings. But how do you recognize a teacher? First of all, again, if we go in like the ancient teachings, whenever whenever the student, disciple, the aspirant to truth is ready, then the master, the spiritual teacher, the guru arrives. Why? Why is say like that? Because what is a teacher but a reflection of that thirst for truth in you? Yeah. That's why sometimes when we go through an evolution, we change teachers, not all the time, but because sometimes we evolve, through different stages. And so the external expression of that desire of truth in you will find a resonance in your heart. So you might feel drawn to somebody, and maybe your mind is liking what they say, or sometimes you are scared by that, but you're attracted anyway. It's really interesting. It's not always in the positive. Sometimes you say, oh my God, what that person is saying sounds so true, and you feel troubled, if you know what I mean. But it's something really mysterious and deep that happens, that it's not a decision of your ordinary mind. It's a call that you feel to sit with somebody, because it happens, this resonance. That person is embodying the truth that is burning in you. Yeah. And that resonance is a resonance that nourishes you. Now, if that teacher is, again, let's use Sanskrit, let's use the tradition in India that is so precise, in my opinion, almost scientific in giving all definitions of so many things. That's why I use that reference point nowadays, because it's so precise. So what is a Sadguru, an ultimate guru? What is the ultimate teacher, the one that will lead you to a complete realization? Is that perfect reflection of a perfect love for truth in you. You see, you might be sitting in front of somebody that is embodying the ultimate truth, yeah? But are you able to listen to it for real? Are you able to hear it? Are you able to actually hear what he's saying or she's saying? We heard the words, for instance, many times. All is one consciousness. The word you see is you. Yeah. But are you taking that in consideration as real? Really real? Like 100% real. If we do, then we are hearing, not just listening. So I would say that when you find yourself hearing and not just listening what has been said, that resonance in the heart happened, and it's transmission, you know, heart to heart, one heart actually, but it's like a leap of a flame, that flame of truth, that flame of love for truth that is burning in the teacher and dissolved, hopefully, you know, the majority of all of its, her or his personality is leaping in you and creating a wildfire, you know, and destroying all the sense of separation. Ultimately, you're going to see that there is nobody inside that form that you call the teacher, and there is nobody new student. It's one love, one being. And that's when you see that actually the guru is all around, because the real guru is life. Life is removing the obstacle for our ignoring of truth that is already inherently present, is already always 100% here. So the ultimate guru is life, and it can take the shape of many, many things. Sometimes not necessarily the shape of a formal teaching, yeah. Sometimes a situation can be your guru. Sometimes an illness can be your guru. Sometimes, you know, life situation, a family and so on can be an incredible way to insight what has been still ignored in you. And so it functions as a remover of an obstacle. So that's what comes into mind. To me, it's fascinating to see the abundance, yeah, let's use this word, of opportunities of awakening that we have all the time.
So I've sat in satsang with you, and we've talked about this in the past, but it came up and in my thoughts as I was just listening, so I want to bring it up again. You said one can hear one's teacher, but you're not talking about with thoughts or in the mind. That's correct, right? You're not, I've heard you say to me, I'm not talking to your mind. And I wonder.
Yeah, what I said was that it depends where the teaching is coming from, yeah? If the teaching is coming from a memory or something that has been learned, then it's going to speak to your mind and to your intellect, and you're, you know, trying to remember it as a notion, as knowledge, yeah? But if the teaching comes from, it's a living teaching, so it's coming from a living experience, then the one that is speaking is not going through the persona, yeah? It's not a memory, but is sharing oneself with you. If that is happening, then the one that is receiving that message is not the mind, but it's consciousness itself. Now, one could say it's always consciousness, of course, that is receiving the teaching, and I agree. But when it happens without the filter of the person, when it's your being that is shared consciously, then the being in you will consciously listen, and there's not going to be any chattering in between, any getting lost in reasoning. And I think, you know, it comes to me to say that maybe this is what scares, you know, Western seekers, to lose their idea that through the reasoning they're going to capture the truth. Yeah, because truth is not a knowledge. There is no truth in knowledge in reality. That's scary for the Western mind. Truth is a mystery to be touched in the heart. It's something that leaves us completely naked of what we know and shift us into pure being and leaves the mind speechless. But, you know, sometimes we like to gather knowledge because we feel a little more sure and we feel we're going to be better equipped for this jump into the mystery. In reality, everything has to be let go, but good knowledge could be useful anyway to remove wrong knowledge, but ultimately it has to be let go of.
I'm losing my words again.
Maybe because we share the same being.
I love that. The title for your presentation next weekend is The Way of Compassion, a universal call to dissolve suffering.
Yeah.
You
We
talk
all,
about that for a bit.
yeah, we all feel it. You feel it. I feel it. I'm sure everybody, and I don't know if there is people listening to this now, but anybody that is hearing this is feeling it. We all feel that something has to be mended in the world, that there is so much suffering and we want to dissolve it, right? We all feel it. And it's not coming from the person that we believe to be. It's not coming from our psychology. It's coming from our heart. Our heart longs for itself and wants to share itself. And I think that all this time of crisis that we have been going through in the last 3-4 years is changing fundamentally the way in which we look at society and the way in which we are living with one another, with inequalities, with injustice, prejudice. It's so interesting what is happening right now, so exciting. And of course, a lot of energy is moving and we are also scared of it and we try to control it. Yeah, but there is this call. I think it's very precious what is happening on the planet, even if, you know, ecological disaster is pending and wars with one another is escalating. How can one be positive? Because for the first time, I think we care collectively. We care for one another, and was not like that 100 years ago. Human life was not seen as precious 100 years ago in, you know, in big part of the world. We care for one another. We feel this call. This call is important now. It means that we are evolving towards compassion, to see that if another is suffering physically, emotionally, spiritually, it matters to us because we are one with them.
What's coming to mind, and I don't remember your exact words, but I believe it was the last conference that you also pointed to this idea that troubled times such as the ones we're living in now, and the world has conflict and crisis in pretty much every avenue, it's a fertile time for liberation or awakening, what rising in consciousness. Could you talk a little bit about how to harvest or harness a time like this?
I think we need to understand that to let go of the past, the present has to change. And in that change shows as a crisis. So the preciousness of a crisis is, you know, the possibility to see that something that we believed as truth and we held as fundamental, it's not fundamental in reality. And we can let it go completely. I know that sometimes, you know, going through a crisis, you know, all you want is just peace and you're not interested in spiritual evolution. You want just to survive in it. Yeah. But fundamentally, you know, there is another force that is guiding our life, that it's not the pleasure or pain patterns of our mind. Even when we don't know it, our life is a spiritual life because we belong to God. That's the truth. Not God as an external entity, God as consciousness, as the ultimate reality. We are this ultimate reality. So when we are in that crisis, maybe all we want is to, to float, to survive, and to be able to find the safety. But if we inquire deeply in that moment, we recognize that there is another fundamental force in us that is creating that situation, and that is guiding us to another way to see ourselves and the world. And the outcome of it is a change that is always necessary, either that is a grief, or a loss. We all lost, or we are losing something in these years, either people or friends or beloved dying, or, job loss, and so on. And so there is this grieving, yeah, but it's not happening for nothing. It has a meaning. And the meaning is to letting go of what is not true. If we understand this, then we can navigate the crisis and find something more important than anything else, that is ourself. And we have always to remember that our journey on this planet is always very short, yeah? And we are not here to remain, and we are not going to keep anything at the end of it. No beloveds, no money, no knowledge, no friends, children, nothing. We don't keep anything with us. Just the love that we experienced and we recognize to be. So that's the meaning of our life. If you remember this, then the difficulties of today have a different dimension and possibility of understanding.
Hard to believe we've been talking for 25 minutes already, and yet I do have one more question, if I may. You said if you inquire deeply into the crisis, can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that? When I hear inquire deeply, I hear questions like, who is it? Who is the I? Who, or where does this arise from? But I would love to know specifically you're pointing. If I have a crisis in my world now, if there's an issue with my children or money or health or whatever, and I'm sitting here and I want to harvest the opportunity held in the so apparent suffering or the pain, how would you suggest one inquire into it?
I'm not speaking about mental analysis. I'm speaking by sitting and recognizing and sitting in your heart. And if you rest in your heart, even just for a moment, when you're going through a hard time, if you can sit in the silence of your heart for a moment, then from there, a new understanding will emerge. It is not coming from, mental questions or anything else, but it's a wisdom that comes from within.
And the last, yeah.
One can ask me, how do you rest in the heart? Yeah. You need to recognize it in you. And that's where spirituality can come handy, to understand what is that center in you where you can become a master of yourself and not a slave of your mind, of your emotions, or of the swaying movements of life, ups and downs. When you can rest in the center of the heart, it's a very solid place. It doesn't matter where your body is, in a prison or free or like rich or poor, or sick or healthy or whatever, that center is there. And that to me is the preciousness of spirituality, of true spirituality, if you want to say.
And I have heard you say that when you talk and point to the center of the heart, you're not specifically talking about the physical heart.
Oh, of course, no, it's not an organ. is the essence of your being.
And we spent a fair amount of time talking about the importance of a teacher for at least some of us. One of the things that I've noticed, for instance, while I'm in your presence, is a quieting of my energetic system, a quieting of my mind. It becomes easier for me to sit in the stillness.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is
because the resonance, because the truth in you sees itself. Now, look at the moon, not at the finger. Shakti is the finger. Enjoy the moon.
beautiful. Any final words?
I wish everybody to discover the beauty of their own heart that is there behind layers and layers of mental conditioning and belief and do and don'ts and whatever, you know, compromising or implication the mind can put there. And in the simplicity of their heart, of their spiritual heart, may them find this eternal joy. That's my wish. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I feel very blessed. And please, everyone who's listening live or later, a couple things. Number one, go ahead and hit the share button. It would be very cool if you felt even a touch of what I felt being here in Shakti's presence, then you'll know that sharing this recording is a gift that you can give to everyone you care about. And go ahead and register. You can attend for free this conference next week live, and there are other opportunities, but come and spend 90 minutes with Shakti along with a whole bunch of other amazing, wonderful teachers from a whole bunch of wonderful traditions that all have that beautiful golden thread of truth running through all of them. So this is Cindy from all of us at Pure Presence Conferences, Shakti. We love you and thank you.
Love you too. Thank you.